It goes without saying that most people would do just about anything to help a suffering animal. Still, doing so can be challenging and require fast thinking and quick action. For instance, grabbing a cat from a tree can be tricky, but once it's done, you can easily place them in a carrier and bring them to the nearest veterinarian. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, the same cannot be said for large animals. Recently, when tourists visiting Kenya's Tsavo East National Park spotted a tiny trunk sticking out of the mud, they knew they had to help. But how? For elephants, one of the most intelligent and emotional species on the planet, family is extremely important. So if a member of their herd becomes injured or finds itself in a precarious situation, it can be remarkably devastating. While it's a person's first instinct to help an ailing animal, unfortunately, not all of these rescues are created equal. It's a lot more difficult to help a large creature, like an elephant, than it is to simply grab a stray cat from a tree, for instance. Recently, when a group of tourists were driving through Tsavo East National Park in Kenya, Africa, they were alarmed to come upon a tiny elephant trunk sticking out of the mud. There was an animal in there who clearly needed saving. But how would they do it? The tourists immediately contacted the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, a group dedicated to helping rescue elephants in the area. Staffers rushed to the scene as the struggling elephant's family looked on in the distance. Once the rescuers arrived, they frantically began to free the baby elephant from his muddy predicament. Soon enough, they learned this task would be extremely difficult. They even noticed large footprints in the mud, which they believed were made when the mother unsuccessfully tried to rescue her baby. The rescuers estimated that the baby had been stuck in the mud for nearly 12 hours by the time they arrived. The calf's mother had clearly tried desperately to save her calf and had nearly given up all hope. Rob Brandford, the executive director of the United Kingdom branch of David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, explained. As the rescuers worked tirelessly to pull the small elephant from the thick mud, one elephant from the onlooking herd, the baby's mother, became anxious. She even started to charge at them, naturally, because there was no way of knowing if they were harming her youngster. Despite the mother's attempt to scare them off, the rescuers continued to tie a series of straps around the baby. In that moment, it was as if the mother suddenly understood that they were there to help and not to harm her little one. Moments later, the rescuers successfully pulled the baby from the mud. This little calf was lucky, Rob explained. Over the years, we've seen many instances of calves unable to climb out of deep ditches created by animals around pipelines or community wells, often simply holes dug into the ground. The moment he was free, the baby elephant ran to his mother's side. The rescuers had done everything in their power to help, and it paid off big time. With elephant families being torn apart by poaching, habitat destruction, and human-wildlife conflict, keeping herds together is our primary mission, Rob said. Reuniting a calf with his mother is the ultimate happy ending.